The androids were stopped, and the time travelers returned home. As we enter the time skip before the Buu saga, what's about to change? We'll cover all that and more in this fourth part of What If Goku Met Bardock. One of the first things over this time skip is the fact that Raditz takes on a new attire. Kind of inspired by his future self, but also, he kind of just naturally comes to this. And now he sees where his future self got it from. This look really does suit him. But beyond that, what else is happening? Goten's now around, and it makes Bardock wonder how strong he's going to be, because he's seen how strong Gohan is. Also, weirdly enough, Goten also looks exactly like him, just like Goku. Him and Trunks would eventually get Super Saiyan for themselves like normal. But what about the rest of the group? Everyone's working to achieve Super Saiyan 2. Goku's the first to get it, then Bardock, then Gohan, then Vegeta, then Raditz. Raditz is still pretty behind, but isn't too worried about it, and because he has all these other people above him, by extension it kind of helps his training because he learns from them while they had to kind of trial and error things. So he gets all that info from more experienced fighters. Guinea still doesn't fight much, for the same reason she quit Bardock's team, but I feel she probably would train from time to time at least, and maybe even train Goten in the process, just like Chi-Chi did. This way she gets back to her roots, but she's kind of out of fighting for now. Although, I feel she'd get Super Saiyan at some point. Especially because if she ever did want to train, Bardock would be the one to train with her mainly. Speaking of Bardock, by now he's fully adjusted to Earth. He gets a job and a hobby for himself, and same for Raditz and Guinea. Raditz becomes a carpenter, and as his hobby, well, he's a biker, obviously. Bardock on the other hand knows Bulma, of course, and let's say he takes an interest in science, especially after being around Bulma so much. Yep, we're using the Bardock as a brilliant scientist thing here. He takes an interest in that, and he wasn't really too educated on science back on planet Vegeta, but he can get an education here. Earth seems to be behind in some areas when it comes to technology and travel, so Bardock decides he's interested in that. What if he brought things like Frieza Force tech over here? Of all the bad things about planet Vegeta and the Frieza Force, at least he could use something from that planet and bring it to Earth through this. That should at least be beneficial in some ways. Guinea would probably be a butcher like normal because that was her occupation on planet Vegeta anyways, and there's still a huge market for here on Earth. And let's say she's an entrepreneur too, opening her own shop for it. That's a skill that actually carries over to Earth pretty well. Not to mention, that shop helps out the rest of her family too because she can get fresh produce from the Sun family farm, not to mention the best meats around. And she becomes pretty successful with this. The Sun family overall does very well for itself. Guinea's the breadwinner, Raditz has a fulfilling career, Bardock gets educated and also gets highly paid, and Goku, well, he's a farmer still, but at least he has an easy customer to sell to, so he'd probably be more successful than normal here. One weird relationship dynamic is Raditz and Vegeta, because they kind of just don't acknowledge each other at first, but at some point they have to. Raditz also learns what happened to Nappa because Goku tells him. He never liked that guy either. But it does make him wonder if Vegeta would have done the same thing to him, had he still been alive by the time he went to Earth. And yeah, Vegeta probably would have killed him, but Goku assures Raditz that Vegeta's calmed down a lot. He's changed. And slowly but surely they interact more. They're not going to become best friends or anything, but instead of just awkwardly coexisting, they exchange the occasional word. After all, they did work together for a long time. And it does make Raditz wonder, would Nappa have been a better guy here too if he came to Earth? Would he have adjusted the same way? Nappa would roll in his grave, but he doesn't have a body to roll. And that basically covers everything new over the time skip. Gohan still does go to school like normal, and he'd meet Fidel, and the Saiyan stuff would probably still happen the same way. Of course, Mr. Satan's not the hero of Earth here like normal, but I don't think that's really going to change too much. Anyways, that brings us to the end of the time skip, and now we can get to the World Tournament. Goku's family gets introduced to this because they never participated. Vegeta is not too familiar with it, nor is Raditz, but Bardock and Guinea actually do know about it because they spent some time living with Goku's family. And they learned about the tournament through Chi-Chi because they obviously wanted to learn how Goku and Chi-Chi met, so they learned their history and the fact that they got engaged at the World Tournament. Also learning that Kakarot eventually did become the world champion at one point. Just for one tournament though. And Bardock doesn't really know if that's a high superlative, but apparently on Earth it is. Or at least was. She doesn't really know anymore. They haven't kept up with it. But now's a good time to catch up with it, and maybe start a family tradition. Bardock, Guinea, Raditz, and Vegeta all join. This will be great for Vegeta. He'll get to fight the whole family there. Of course, Goku is still his main focus, but Bardock is part of the picture too, and he's pretty powerful, so Vegeta has kept an eye on him. Raditz, he's not really too concerned about, though he is growing at a pretty fast rate. And then there's Gohan, the hybrid Saiyan who's naturally gifted. Now, Vegeta always knew that he had some great potential, but ever since Bardock came to Earth, things have changed, because Goku of course would want to push Gohan a lot, and so would Bardock too. And while he is still getting his great education, in his free time, either his father or his grandfather would want him to train. And little side note, whenever Videl met his family, she basically saw 3 people that look exactly the same, Bardock, Goku, and Goten. Kinda weird, but he must have really strong genes. Anyways, now for the actual tournament to begin. One of the first matches is actually Bardock versus Raditz. A pretty big match. Naturally, Bardock probably would have won this match, if it actually continued, because it gets interrupted midway through. Spopovich and Yamu use this as their opportunity to steal energy. Instead of having one target, they have 2 here, and each of them has an energy collection device. Bardock and Raditz are both in Super Saiyan 2 at the moment. It's kind of a risky maneuver, but it ends up working, mainly because the Kais are there to actually paralyze these 2, which they didn't plan for of course, but Shin and Kibito need them to collect the energy. So Spopovich and Yamu get the energy, and then immediately head off. Kibito goes into the ring to heal the other two. Bardock is immediately fuming, and so is Raditz, but Raditz has no clue what they're dealing with and doesn't want to attack right away. Bardock almost chases after them, but Shin's able to calm him down and get him to listen. They all learn what's going on, and so does the rest of the group. And now with actual info to work off of, they chase after the other two. Babidi is waiting patiently for them to arrive, and when they get there, he's pretty surprised. They almost have enough energy. With energy from 2 Super Saiyan 2s, he got about 90% of what he needed, maybe a little more. He still needs that little extra push, but even a brief battle with one of his minions should be enough. Dabura should be able to gather some energy, and if not him, Pui and Yakan would be able to get that final amount. If he really needs to, he could also possess somebody, but he's probably not going to need to do that. Although he does get a good look at the people that he's facing. Bardock, Vegeta, Raditz, they all might be good fits. Bardock and Raditz are fully adjusted to Earth, and Vegeta might have resentment for the same reason he did normally, with Raditz maybe having resentment towards himself for being so weak compared to everyone else. So he could always exploit that if he needs to, but he probably won't need to. Dabura's the first one to fight them. Not really by choice, but because he's the first one they encounter outside. But he doesn't end up killing anyone, or turning anyone to stone for that matter. The second he appears, Raditz is the one to face him. Really mad at the fact that this guy is involved in stealing his energy. In Super Saiyan 2, Raditz puts up a pretty good fight against Dabura, but Bardock was targeted too, so he jumps in, and the two of them land the final blow together, killing Dabura. But this gives Babidi the remaining energy that he actually needs, and Babidi watches on with joy as the ticker on Buu's egg goes up and up. And eventually, it hits 100%. He's finally gathered enough energy to revive Buu, and Buu pops out of the egg, finally revived. No one even went into the ship yet, but when they're about to, they sense that ominous presence inside, with Shin and Kibito being mortified. Well, looks like they have no other choice but to just fight Buu together. At least that would be the smart option. It's a bunch of pure Saiyans here, plus Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin. Those three are more level-headed, but as for the pure Saiyans, everyone wants to take a chance fighting Buu one-on-one. Raditz steps up first, and immediately gets cooked. Buu just one-shots him away. So then Vegeta steps up, and he does a little better, but it's pretty much the same result. So they each try and fight Buu one-on-one, but nothing works with that. At least Buu's having fun, so he's not getting angry. But after all of them get beat up individually, they decide to just team together. Babidi watches on very happily. There's no way they're going to be able to stop Buu. Although he's a little bit too distracted, and he doesn't realize Piccolo snuck up right behind him, killing Babidi with a single attack. Well, at least they don't have to deal with him now. But Buu's still going to be a big issue, even with everyone fighting together. As they're facing Buu, they slowly get more and more injured, and they lose some of their stamina too. Buu is doing really well, and not to mention, they learn about the fact that he could actually regenerate too, which makes things a lot worse. But still, they have an idea. Maybe they could just kill Buu if they destroy all of him. Even with his crazy regeneration, it looks like he still needs some little piece of him left. Vegeta thinks that if they destroy every bit of Buu completely, there's no way he can regenerate. But that's going to be really tough when they don't have the power to destroy him with just one attack. And even if they did have that, they need to guarantee that every little bit of him is destroyed. And Bardock has one idea. He didn't want to try this, at least not just yet. But they're getting pretty desperate now. The idea he had in mind might not even work, and it might kill him. But he's going to die against Buu anyways, so he might as well try this. Over the past few years, he's been practicing with more than just Super Saiyan. He hasn't forgotten about Kaioken at all, and it got him wondering if Kaioken could be combined with Super Saiyan. After mastering Super Saiyan, he's tried it on a few occasions, but even with Super Saiyan being mastered, it still was pretty stressful on his body. And he's only ever attempted this with Kaioken times 2 and regular Super Saiyan. But theoretically, he could use Kaioken as high as he wants, in Super Saiyan 2 no less. It's not exactly going beyond Super Saiyan 2 in the way they intended, but still, it could maybe help them out here. So he bets everything on that. Bardock asks them all to get an opening, just really quick, and they're able to get a very brief opening for him, just enough for one attack. While in Super Saiyan 2, Bardock activates Kaioken, particularly Kaioken times 10, and he pulls it off, not thinking it would work the first time around. When you think about it, this is stronger than the entire group combined because it's basically like 10 Super Saiyan 2 Bardocks attacking at once. But he can't use it for long, and it takes a huge toll on his body. He thinks he'll only have this one attack. Goku and Raditz have successfully distracted Buu, with Vegeta and Gohan staying back to protect Bardock just in case. Goku and Raditz then quickly jump out of the way as Bardock launches his attack. The beam is incredibly intense. The second it hits Buu, it punctures through him like a hot knife through butter. And then the beam expands out, erasing the rest of Buu. There's not a single trace of him left. And just for good measure, Bardock fires it for a little bit longer right after Buu's destroyed, just to ensure every piece of him is dealt with. And immediately after firing the attack, Bardock collapses, falling to the ground, passing out with his body twitching. He might have actually just died from that attack, but Kibito quickly runs over and heals him. It's a good thing he was there because if he weren't, Bardock actually would have been dead here. Kibito says that his heart seems to have given out. So, while that attack did work, it technically would have killed Bardock in the process. And Bardock's glad that he killed Buu, but he's not going to try Super Saiyan Kaioken like that again. Especially not Super Saiyan 2 with Kaioken times 10 on top of it. There's no point winning a battle with it if it ends up killing him. Although, in a life or death situation like that, it was worth it. They'll get back to the tournament and learn the tournament continued without them. Mighty Mask actually won the tournament, which ended up being Goten and Trunks. Although, they took the fall against Mr. Satan since he offered a bunch of money, which was kind of weird because Trunks is rich, he doesn't really need the money, but Goten at least kind of did. Mr. Satan doesn't realize that he just bribed 2 kids, but they took it. Plus, they had the Junior Division tournament, with Trunks ending up winning that. So in a way, Trunks won 2 tournaments. Bulma's very happy, and when Vegeta learns of this, he's even prouder. But still, after the fight with Buu, everyone realizes that they still have a long way to go. They still want to ascend Super Saiyan 2, but no one's really sure how to. Sure, Bardock was able to combine it with Kaioken, but that doesn't seem feasible, and that's only for people that know Kaioken, and even then, they're not sure if that'll work long term. They need something that isn't a temporary solution like that. Something that's more reliable and an actual form, if anything. Like, is there a Super Saiyan 3 beyond Super Saiyan 2? A Super Saiyan 4 maybe? Who knows? And everyone's trying to think outside the box. Goku's been training to go beyond, and he feels like he might be on the cusp of getting something beyond Super Saiyan 2, but isn't really too sure. Meanwhile, Bardock and Raditz are trying to reinvent the wheel, starting from scratch. They still have their tails, and Raditz actually had a pretty good idea. What if they were able to combine forms somehow? Like, Bardock combined Super Saiyan and Kaioken, and granted, Kaioken isn't its own form, but still, the principle is there. That's what got Raditz to think that maybe he can combine Super Saiyan with something else, and the only other form he has, besides the various stages of Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2, is Great Ape. So what if you can combine those 2 forms together? He's not exactly sure if that would work. And what would that create? Like a Super Saiyan Great Ape? Will they still be giant in that form? Or would it be like a Super Saiyan manifesting the power of a Great Ape? They're not sure if it's even possible, and if it is, there's only one way to find out what it would look like. They have to try it out. Try and become Great Apes again, and go Super Saiyan on top of that. It's been so long since they've even used the Great Ape form. After getting Super Saiyan, it seemed kind of useless, especially because by the time Raditz got to Earth, everyone had Super Saiyan. He was completely focused on that. But maybe, by tapping into this power, they can get something else. And besides just training further and trying to push more power out of Super Saiyan 2, this is really the only idea they have. So, Bardock and Raditz begin working on that, not even sure if it'll do anything. And with that, we'll leave off here for now. What'd you guys think about this part? What's going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.